clear and unshaken, while others collapse under pressure. The difference begins the moment they wake up. Most wake into the same mental loop as yesterday: doubt, fear, and scattered thoughts. But the few who take control early reshape their entire day. Your morning determines your mindset. Change that first moment, and you change everything that follows. That's where real power begins, at the start. In a few moments, I will teach you what to do each morning to reset your mind and rewire your brain for success. Start each morning with one definite thought. You wake up each morning with a blank slate, but most people allow that slate to be written on by doubt, fear, and idle thinking before their feet even touch the floor. Instead of claiming the day, they react to it. And once you begin the day in reaction, it owns you. You become a passenger to your circumstances instead of the architect of your results. The mind must be instructed or it will wander. You must choose the first thought or the world will do it for you. That's why the first moment of your day must belong to one definite thought, a purpose so strong, so specific, that it pulls your entire being into alignment. Not a wish, not a vague hope, a clearly formed, emotionally charged, positively affirmed direction. You begin this practice by preparing the night before. Write down the one outcome you desire most for the day ahead. Say it aloud when you rise. Fix it in your mind before the world speaks. Your mind, like a plow, digs in the direction of your dominant thoughts. What you plant in the morning, you harvest at night. Now picture this. You wake with clarity. Before speaking to anyone, you speak to your dream. You rise with your jaw set, your chest lifted, your eyes focused. The world sees a man or woman on a mission. And because you believe your day is yours, others begin to believe it too. So let me ask you, what is your first thought in the morning? Is it built by design or dictated by default? Does it steer your course or scatter your focus? Choose it carefully, because that one thought can rewrite your entire destiny. Review your purpose before you touch the world, before you open the door, before you shake a hand, before you even eat breakfast. You must return to your reason. The world pulls you in 1,000 directions. If you don't remind yourself of your center, you'll be torn apart by distractions, obligations, and other people's urgency. Purpose isn't something you discover once. It's something you commit to daily. You have to sit with it, speak to it, and carry it with you like a compass. And morning is the sacred hour to do this, while the world is still quiet and your mind hasn't yet been invaded by noise. Sit down, close your eyes. Ask yourself one question: what am I building and why does it matter? Then listen. The answer may not be loud, but it will be clear, and that answer will guide you. Now picture this. A man walks through the day without revisiting his purpose. He's easily shaken. Small problems feel large. He reacts instead of creates. But another man, one who began his morning in reflection, he is calm, even when tested, because he knows what he's anchored to. So ask yourself, do you remember your mission or only your schedule? Do you wake with purpose or drift into obligation? Start your day grounded in your why. Review it, speak it, live it, because a man with purpose is harder to stop than an army without it. Visualize the man you are becoming every morning before the world demands your attention. You must claim a few sacred moments to see the man you are becoming, not as you are today, but as you must become to carry the life you dream of, because the world does not shape you. Your imagination does. The mind, when left untrained, sees only what it remembers. And if your memories are filled with lack, failure, or delay, then your future begins to look just like your past. But when you imprint your mind with a bold image of your future self, standing strong, leading others, calm in storms, you give your brain a new map to follow. This is not fantasy. This is rehearsal. Just as a warrior sharpens his blade before battle, you sharpen your identity before meeting the day. Each morning, sit still. Close your eyes. Picture yourself doing what you were born to do, with courage, clarity, and command. Watch yourself walking with authority. Hear your voice speaking with power. Feel the satisfaction of results you have not yet earned, but are preparing to receive. Picture this. You are not some hesitant worker crawling through time. You are the sculptor, and each act you perform today is the chisel in your hand. What form are you creating? What image will your life reflect? Let me ask you this. Have you trained your eyes to look forward, or are they stuck in yesterday's fog? Have you seen the man you are meant to become, or are you still negotiating with who you were? Start each day with vision, because the man who sees clearly cannot be led astray. Write down one dominant goal. Every morning, your mind was never built to chase 100 things. It was not meant to sprint in every direction like a frightened animal. It was built to focus, to lock on, to take one clear target and pour everything into it until it bends or breaks. But in the modern world, we fool ourselves. We believe multitasking is power, that keeping 10 tabs open in the mind is efficiency. But it's not. It's self-sabotage disguised as ambition. Because the man who tries to pursue everything ends up catching nothing. Look closely at the people who get things done, who change their lives, who build, conquer, achieve. They all do one thing that the average man skips. They write their goal. Not just know it, not just think about it, but write it, because writing is a declaration of war. It is the moment you stop fantasizing and start commanding. A written goal becomes a promise, a signal to your brain, this is not optional. This is what we're doing today. You might say, but I already know my goal in my head. That's not enough. The mind is a slippery place. Goals float, they shift. They drown beneath distractions and lose form. But when your hand moves the pen, when your eyes see the ink, now the goal becomes real, concrete, visible. It leaves the cloudy territory of thought and takes shape in the material world. It becomes something you can't ignore. Each morning, before the noise of the world gets in, sit down for 5 minutes, no more, no less, and write one goal. Just one, not a list, not a journal entry, one sentence, one task. One target, a decision, a conversation you've been avoiding, a piece of work that matters. That's it. Simplicity is not weakness, it is strength made sharp. Now imagine yourself doing this daily. You wake up, you sit down, and you write your goal. As your day unfolds, your energy gets scattered, as it always will, but then you glance at that small piece of paper, and it speaks back to you. Remember why you started. It brings you back to yourself. You waste less time. You hesitate less. You make fewer detours because you know where you're going, and yet most people don't do this. They assume they'll remember their goal. They rely on mental willpower alone, hoping the day won't derail them. But the wind is always blowing, the distractions are always calling, and without a written goal, you will drift. So let me ask you, did you write your goal today? Or are you just hoping the storm won't knock you off course? Write it, read it, chase it. And soon you'll no longer be ruled by feeling or confusion, you'll be ruled by intention. That's the mind of a builder, a doer, a conqueror. And that, my friend, is how your life begins to transform. Ask one question that stretches your thinking. The day does not begin with the sun. It begins with the first question you ask yourself. And for most men, that question is pitifully small. What's for breakfast? What meetings do I have? What's the weather like? Harmless questions, maybe, but they set the tone for a harmless life because a small question wakes up a small mind, and a small mind cannot build a powerful life. But you must become uncommon. You must reject the shallow and reach for the deep. Each morning must begin not with routine, but with a stretch, a mental reach beyond your comfort, your patterns, your laziness. You must train yourself to ask a better question, one that forces your mind to rise. One that rattles your comfort and invites your higher self to the table. Why? Because your life is shaped not by your answers, but by your questions. A lazy question gives you a lazy answer. A fearful question traps you in circles. But a powerful question cracks open new directions. It plants a seed of strength. It pushes you to think beyond today's noise. And in that thinking, your mind begins to evolve. Try this. Before the world grabs your attention, before the news, the text, the to-do list, ask something uncommon. What would I do today if I wasn't afraid? Let that sit. Let it whisper through your chest. Or ask, what is the one bold move I'm avoiding? Then breathe with it. Don't demand an immediate answer. Let the question stretch you, not solve you. See, most men ask to survive the day, but the rare man, the man of vision, asks to shape the day. He doesn't ask what's happening to him. He asks what he must become, what must be built, what fear must be slain. His questions carry weight, and in return, his answers carry power. Picture this man. He wakes not with dread or distraction, but with a challenge. He sits at the edge of his bed and asks, what must I become to lead with honor? That question alone alters his posture. He stands taller. He listens better. He disciplines his habits, not because a schedule told him to, but because a question demanded it. This is the secret few understand. Your questions determine your level. They build the ceiling or shatter it. They train your focus or scatter it. They can lull you back to sleep or wake you into purpose. So I ask you now, what question began your day? Was it one of survival or one of strength? Did it call you up or did it numb you down? Write a new question, one that dares, one that stings, one that stretches. Ask it tomorrow. Ask it the next day. Let it haunt and guide you, because the mind that asks great questions is the mind that climbs. And the man who climbs sees the world the average man never will. Do one hard thing before the day begins. Comfort never announces its arrival with fanfare. It does not storm the gates or ring alarms. No, it seeps in quietly, gently, like a warm blanket pulled over your ambition. It whispers to you in soft tones. Take it easy. You've earned it. Just a little more rest. And so, day after day, comfort seduces you into delay, into softness, into the slow decay of your own potential. Not through violence, through ease. That is why it is so dangerous, because it feels good, but it steals everything. This is why the morning is sacred. It is the battleground where you declare who is in control, your mind or your mood. And the man who wants to build a life of strength, purpose, and power must choose discomfort before discomfort chooses him. He must say, I will hurt by choice or I will suffer by chance. That is the law. Because you cannot escape pain in this life, but you can choose its form. Will it be the sharp pain of discipline or the slow rot of regret? So every morning, before the world enters your space, before you eat, before you sit in comfort, do one hard thing, not because someone told you to, not to prove it to the world, but to prove it to yourself. This one act, done in silence, without applause, is your private rebellion against weakness. Cold water, a steep run, a brutal truth spoken aloud, a conversation you've delayed. 100 push-ups before your coffee. Doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that it hurts, just a little. Enough to say, I am alive, I am not ruled by comfort, I am in command. And what does this do to the brain? It rewires it. It tells the nervous system, I don't need to feel perfect to act with power. It tells the subconscious, I lead, I act, I dominate. You train yourself to move first. Before motivation, before permission, before circumstances are ideal. And when you do this day after day, something changes inside you. A steel spine begins to grow. A voice begins to rise. Not the loud voice of ego, but the quiet voice of discipline. The voice that says, no matter what comes today, I've already won. Picture two men. They both rise at the same hour. The first stretches, lets the warmth of the sheets linger a little longer. He eases into his day, hoping it won't be too hard. The second, he rises like a soldier. He plunges into cold water. He trains. He faces what he fears. He chooses pain before life can throw it at him. His body may ache, but his eyes are alive. His energy is not reactive, it is directive. The world begins to sense him. People move aside. Circumstances begin to bend, not because of luck, but because of posture. That is the difference. That is the price of power. So now I ask you, what have you done this morning that made you stronger? What have you faced that forced your mind to bow to your will? Or did you let comfort decide again? Discipline is not a mood. It is not an event. It is a ritual. And it begins with the decision to hurt a little every morning, to do what is hard, before the day demands it. Because the man who starts his day in command of himself does not need the world's permission to win. Do one hard thing daily, and soon the world will no longer test you. It will respect you. Eliminate one excuse before it speaks. Excuses are not loud intruders. They don't kick down your door or shout their presence. They arrive gently, disguised in reasonable tones, dressed in the language of logic. That's what makes them dangerous. They feel right. They feel justified. But if you allow them to speak unchecked, they'll quietly dictate the rhythm of your day. That's why the first battle you must fight every morning is not against fatigue or circumstance, it's against your excuse. Before you eat, before you speak, before the world even knows you're awake, you must eliminate one excuse. Cut its tongue out before it whispers. You already know the excuse that waits for you. It's not a mystery. It's the same one that showed up yesterday and the day before. It's the thought that curls in the corner of your mind like a lazy shadow. I'm too tired. I don't have time. I'm just not feeling it today. This voice doesn't scream, it suggests. It offers you a back door, a reason to slow down, a reason to give up your edge. And if you're not careful, you'll take that door thinking it's wisdom when really it's surrender. But a man on a mission doesn't argue with excuses. He dismantles them. He names them. He doesn't pretend they aren't there. He calls them into the light and then rips them apart. That's where power begins, with brutal honesty. Because a man who tolerates even one excuse has made an agreement with weakness, and you cannot sign peace treaties with what wants to destroy your purpose. So here's the practice. Each morning, sit with your journal, no noise, and write down the exact excuse that will try to stop you today. Not in vague terms, but clearly. If your excuse is, I didn't sleep well, write it. If it's, I'm too overwhelmed to start, write it. And then write its opposite. Write the truth you choose to believe. If the excuse says, I don't have the energy, then you write, I gain energy by moving, by pushing, by starting before the world wakes. You are not just journaling, you are rewiring. Then, and this is vital, you act in line with that new truth immediately. Don't sit and philosophize. Don't wait for inspiration. Move. Action is what solidifies belief. And each time you do this, you send a message to your brain. We are not ruled by fear, fatigue, or fiction. We are ruled by decision. Now picture this. Two men both wake up to the same alarm. Both feel the same heaviness in their chest, the same weight of responsibility. One listens to that voice of delay. He lies still. He reasons with himself. He tells himself he'll start in an hour, maybe after breakfast. But that hour becomes a morning. That morning becomes a wasted day. The other man, he hears the same voice, but he's ready. Because he wrote that excuse down. He named it. He already declared war on it. And when it tried to speak, he had already silenced it. He moves with power. He builds momentum. He wins not because the day was easy, but because he refused to be seduced by the easy way out. This is not about being harsh on yourself. It's about being honest. Your excuses are not facts. They are narratives, small habitual lies that protect you from discomfort. But that discomfort is exactly where your transformation lives. And if you allow those lies to survive, they will rob you of every bold thing you were meant to become. So let me ask you now, what excuse will try to own you today? And more importantly, will you let it? Take control. Eliminate one excuse, not all of them, just one, every single morning. And if you do this consistently, you will look back in 6 months and find that you've eliminated 100 regrets without even realizing it. Because you didn't wait for motivation. You didn't wait for clarity. You chose the harder path before the easier one had a chance to seduce you. That's how winners begin their day. That's how you reclaim your mind. That's how excuses die, quietly, one morning at a time. Read one paragraph that reminds you of power. Your morning is not just the beginning of your day, it's the setting of your mind. It is the moment where silence still hangs in the air, where the noise of the world hasn't yet poured in. And in that fragile hour, what you feed your mind matters more than most realize. Before opinions strike, before demands arrive, you are yours. You are untouched. And what you place into that sacred space shapes everything that follows. Most people don't realize this. They stumble into their mornings unguarded. They read emails filled with other people's priorities. They let complaints, news, and nonsense be the first things to touch their consciousness. And in doing so, they hand over their mental authority to the outside. They allow their first thoughts to be not their own, but reactions to the world. But you must not start your day as they do. You must treat the mind like firewood in the cold. It must be sparked early, not with volume, not with 10 chapters or endless affirmations, just one paragraph, one truth, one powerful arrangement of words that reminds you who you are and what you are capable of. Because words are not decorations. They are not entertainment. Words are tools. Words are weapons. And if you use them right, they can cut through confusion, lift you from despair, and forge clarity where there was only fog. That is why you don't need much, just one paragraph of depth, of strength, of fire. That is enough to burn away the softness of sleep and summon the steel of discipline. It's not about how much you read. It's about what you feel from what you read. One line, if true and personal and potent, can stay with you for hours. It can travel with you into conflict, into doubt, into decision. It becomes your ally, your armor, and it does not fade like noise. It lives like a quiet pulse behind your thoughts. So what should you read? Anything that reminds you of your own greatness. Anything that shakes you from laziness and lifts you toward mastery. A passage from a warrior's biography. A sentence from a sacred text. A handwritten promise to your future self. A quote that rattles your fear. The source doesn't matter as much as the feeling it gives you. The words must not flatter you. They must call you up. They must not comfort you. They must ignite you. Keep this paragraph somewhere sacred. in your journal, on your wall. Return to it every morning as if it holds a secret written just for you. Read it slowly, not like a task, but like a ritual. Let it enter your chest, not just your mind. Let it breathe fire into your limbs. Let it pull your spine upright before you even move. Now imagine this. Two men face the same day. He sees what others are doing. He begins his day reacting. The other? He opens a small, worn journal. Inside is one sentence he wrote a month ago. Today, I move like a man with purpose. He reads it. He lets it settle in. He breathes with it. And suddenly, he moves differently. His posture changes. His presence sharpens. That one sentence has made him dangerous in the best way. This is not fantasy. This is training, mental training, spiritual conditioning. Because when you begin each day by feeding your mind with strength, the world can no longer feed you weakness. You'll hear their complaints, but not absorb them. You'll face obstacles, but not be ruled by them. You'll face temptation, but stay aligned. Why? Because you already armed yourself with one powerful truth before the war of the day began. So let me ask you, what words shaped your thoughts this morning? Were they yours? Were they intentional? Or did you let the world shout over your spirit before it even had the chance to speak? Do start the day with a powerful sentence, not as a motivational trick, but as a discipline, as a personal contract with your higher self. Read it, feel it, live it, because one sentence, if believed, can bend the shape of a week. One paragraph, if absorbed, can kill self-doubt before it breathes. And one truth, returned to daily, can shape the foundation of an unshakable life. Don't wait for the world to feed your mind. Feed it yourself, with strength, with fire, with clarity. And let the first words you hear be words that remind you who you truly are. Touch the work you're avoiding. Every morning, without exception, you must touch the work you fear. Not the easy work, not the routine, but that work. The one that hides behind every excuse. The one you keep moving to tomorrow's list. The one that stirs something in your gut the moment you think of it. That task you've been avoiding. That project that once lit a fire in you, but now collects dust. That conversation you need to have, that document you haven't opened, that idea you haven't dared to write down. Not because you need to finish it all today. No, that's not the point. The point is to prove to yourself, to the day, to the fear itself, that it no longer controls you. You touch the work not for completion, but for confrontation. You take the first swing, the first breath, the first step. You break the spell of inaction by reaching into the dark and putting your hands on the thing you fear most, because avoidance is not passive, it is corrosive. Every time you delay what matters, a small part of your confidence erodes. You don't just avoid the task, you train your mind to believe it's too hard, too big, too overwhelming. You build a wall between who you are and who you could be. And brick by brick, delay becomes identity. I'll get to it later becomes maybe I was never meant to. But it's a lie. And the only way to tear it down is to begin. Here's the truth. The longer you wait, the stronger the fear becomes. The more you tiptoe around the task, the more power it gathers. It becomes a shadow that follows you throughout the day, whispering in moments of stillness, tightening your chest in the quiet. But the very instant you touch the work, you take back power. You puncture the illusion. You send a message to your brain that you are in command. You don't have to finish the task, you just have to begin it. Open the file, write the first sentence, make the first call. Sit down in front of the work, not as a slave to it, but as a master over it. 5 minutes of contact can dismantle 5 days of delay. Because once you're in motion, everything changes. The fog clears, the weight lightens, the monster shrinks. Why does this matter? Because what you fear to start today becomes what you fail to finish tomorrow. And what you fail to finish becomes what you regret next year. Time doesn't just disappear, it accumulates proof. Proof that you didn't act. Proof that you played small. And with every missed day, the distance between your current self and your future potential grows wider. Courage is not something you wait for. It doesn't fall into your lap. It doesn't arrive when the timing is perfect. Courage grows by doing. You don't feel brave and then act. You act, and the feeling of bravery follows like a shadow. That's how confidence is built. That's how mastery begins. Not by waiting, by touching the work while your hands still tremble. So each morning, before the world distracts you, ask yourself one simple question. What have I been putting off that matters most? What piece of work, if done, would change something, move something, heal something? then go to it. Even if it's just to look at it, even if it's just to organize it, even if it's just to write one line. Begin. Now, imagine two men. Both are gifted, both have potential, but one spends his morning organizing, preparing, rearranging, pushing his real work into the afternoon, then the evening, then tomorrow. He dances around his destiny like it's a stranger. He delays. He hopes inspiration will knock on his door. It never does. The other man, he doesn't wait to feel ready. He touches the work while it still stings. He opens the file. He writes through resistance. He finishes. He moves on. He becomes free. That's the difference. One man avoids the fire. The other walks through it, scarred maybe, but sharpened. And every time he does, the fire fears him a little more. So ask yourself right now, are you dancing around your destiny? Are you decorating your schedule with busy work? Or are you grabbing the task that matters by the collar and pulling it into the light? Touch the work, even briefly, every morning, before your mind has time to negotiate. Before fear has time to build a case, touch the work like a warrior touches his weapon, with respect, with resolve, with readiness, because your courage doesn't grow in theory, it grows in action. One word, one click, one breath, and the war within begins to turn in your favor. Reflect on the life you no longer want. Every man is running from something, whether he admits it or not. There is a shadow behind him, a former life, a weaker version, a time marked by fear, delay, and compromise. And while we are told to always look forward, to keep our eyes on the prize, we forget that sometimes the greatest fuel does not come from envisioning what's ahead, but from remembering what we left behind. This is not about guilt. This is not about regret. This is about clarity. There is power in facing your past, not to dwell in it, but to draw strength from it. Each morning, before the flood of obligation, take a few quiet minutes, sit still, and remember the version of life you swore you'd never go back to. Remember the fatigue of wasted time, the ache of knowing you had more to give but chose ease. Remember the lies you told yourself to justify mediocrity. Just this once. Tomorrow will be better. I'm doing my best. You know better now. And the pain you once lived in, whether it was physical, emotional, financial, or spiritual, is not something you should forget. It is your contrast. It is your proof that you are not the same, that you paid for your growth, and that going backward is no longer an option. Most men live in a fog because they never take the time to remember. They try to stay positive, but in doing so, they lose their edge. They disconnect from the reality of what it costs to stay weak, lazy, addicted, afraid. They pretend that life was fine back then, but it wasn't. And when comfort creeps in and whispers, "You've earned a break," they believe it, because they've forgotten what that life really felt like. But you must remember, not constantly, but consistently. You must touch the scar. You must glance at the ashes of the bridges you burned, not to mourn, but to harden. To remember that the road back is not just wrong, it's deadly. Because a man who forgets where he came from will quietly start slipping back into it. So before the work begins, before the world pulls at you, give yourself the gift of memory. Sit in the silence of the morning and recall the lateness, the self-doubt, the jealousy, the toxic patterns, the wasted potential. Picture yourself standing in that former place, the version of you who was more talk than action, more fear than force. And then, as the image sharpens, make this silent vow: never again. Reflection is not weakness. Reflection is distinction. It is the act of drawing a bold line between what you were and what you are becoming. And the more often you reflect, the clearer that line becomes. You don't just move forward, you move with conviction. You don't just dream, you execute, because you remember how it felt to drift. You remember the weight of shame. You remember how empty it felt to break your own promises. Now picture this. Two men rise with the sun. One rushes forward, eyes fixed on the day's demands. He forgets what it took to reach this point. He lets entitlement sneak in. He expects results because he's working hard. But he forgets the hunger that built him. The second man sits first. He breathes deeply. He remembers the nights of failure, the days he nearly quit, the tears no one saw. And instead of relaxing, he sharpens. He carries his past not like a burden, but like a blade. Every step he takes is informed. Every move he makes is intentional. Because he's not just running toward a vision, he's running from a grave. And that changes everything. You must ask yourself, what am I running from? Is it something shallow, a minor discomfort, or something deeper? A former life that nearly broke you? And more importantly, have you burned the bridges behind you, or have you left them intact? Just in case you feel like going back. Because a man who leaves the door open to his old self will eventually walk through it. Not all at once, but slowly, thought by thought, excuse by excuse, until one day he looks in the mirror and sees the same man he promised he'd outgrow. You don't need to live in your past, but you do need to visit it, touch it, taste the bitterness, not because you miss it, but because you don't. That's how you strengthen your spine. That's how you quiet the voice that says, maybe I'm doing okay. You're not here to do okay. You're here to dominate, to become something your former self would never believe possible. So each morning, reflect, not to suffer, but to fortify, not to feel shame, but to feel fire. Because the man who remembers what he refuses to return to moves forward without hesitation. He moves with power. He moves with purpose. And most of all, he moves with gratitude. Grateful he's no longer stuck. Grateful he clawed his way out. Grateful that he never gave up when everything inside him said, turn back. Look back, not to stay, but to run faster. Because when you remember what it cost to stay weak, you'll never again confuse rest with regression. You'll move like a man with something to prove, not to others, but to himself. And that, more than anything, is what separates the average from the unstoppable. Thank the struggle before it begins. Most men curse difficulty. They groan when things don't go their way. They see struggle as a sign that life is unfair, that something is broken, that maybe they should turn back. They pray for ease, for smooth roads, for sunny skies and gentle winds. But the truth is, ease doesn't shape you. Comfort doesn't sculpt courage, and calm days do not carve out giants. If you want to become more than the man you are today, you must begin by shifting your perspective. You must stop resenting the struggle and start thanking it. Each morning, before the tests come, before the setbacks arrive, say this word with conviction: thank you. Not for what is simple, not for what goes your way, but for what will stretch you, for what will push you, bruise you, slow you down. Thank life in advance for the delay, the confusion, the unexpected obstacle, because these things are not enemies, they are instructors. They are not curses, they are classrooms. This is not weakness speaking, this is not passive acceptance, this is power. Gratitude, when practiced with intention, is not soft, it is steel. It says, I will not wait for life to be easy, I will be ready for it to be hard. That kind of attitude shifts you from a passenger into a warrior. It makes you a participant in your growth, not a victim of your circumstances. You don't sit around hoping the day goes your way. You train yourself to win, no matter how the day unfolds. So tomorrow morning, when you rise, before the noise of the world reaches you, look into the mirror and say, whatever test comes today, I welcome it. Say it aloud. Say it with your chest. Say it not because you enjoy pain, but because you know what pain produces. Because you've begun to understand a truth that weak men never grasp. Struggle is not punishment. Struggle is a furnace, and only through the furnace are men forged into something great. You see, there are two kinds of men in the world. The first walks into the day hoping for peace. He's fragile, held together by comfort and predictability. When struggle shows up, he's surprised. He's offended, he folds. The second man expects struggle. He's already made peace with it before it arrives. And when the trial finally comes, when something breaks, when the door closes, when the delay hits, he doesn't flinch. He smiles because he knows this is the moment that makes me better. That smile, that's the real victory. That's what carries him through. And this kind of strength doesn't come from wishing, it comes from framing, from beginning each day with gratitude, not just for what feels good, but for what will grow you. Gratitude turns pain into power. It rewrites the narrative. It says, this didn't happen to me. It happened for me. And now I will respond like a man who is ready. Think of the strongest people history remembers. They were not shaped in peace. They were carved by storms. They faced setbacks, failures, betrayals, and wounds that would have broken the average man. But they didn't curse the storm. They thanked it because it stripped away their weakness. It revealed their resolve. It introduced them to their real self, the version buried underneath layers of comfort, fear, and illusion. So I ask you now, are you resisting struggle? Are you waking up hoping nothing goes wrong? Or are you inviting the challenge because you know it's the path to something greater? Are you asking for less, or are you becoming more? The man who thanks the struggle is untouchable. He cannot be broken because he doesn't fear pressure. He doesn't crumble when the day is hard. He doesn't need perfect conditions to show up powerfully. His posture doesn't come from things going his way. It comes from a mindset that says, even when it's hard, I get better. And this isn't theory, this is practice. This is a discipline. It starts in the first few minutes of the day. When you decide what kind of man you're going to be, will you whine when discomfort arrives? Will you delay your growth waiting for life to feel right? Or will you thank the very thing most people run from? Wake up with fire in your eyes. Look at the coming day, not with fear, but with focus. Say aloud, whatever pain shows up, whatever resistance I meet, whatever curveball life throws, I thank it, because I don't grow by avoiding it, I grow by facing it. This declaration rewires your nervous system. It calms the panic, it eliminates the shock. Suddenly, obstacles aren't interruptions, invitations to dig deeper, to rise, to adapt, to respond with strength that surprises even you. And the best part? The more you thank the struggle, the more momentum you build. Confidence doesn't come from wins alone. It comes from knowing you can endure, that no matter what the day brings, you show up ready. That kind of man becomes unstoppable, not because life gets easier, but because he gets stronger. So tomorrow morning, before you check your schedule, before the noise creeps in, take one breath, just one, and say it. Thank you for the struggle that's coming. I don't need ease. I need truth. I need challenge. I need what will make me a giant, because life will not hand you greatness. It will test you for it, and only the man who welcomes the test, who thanks it, will rise to meet it. Let the others curse the challenge. Let them run, let them fold. But you will rise with gratitude on your lips and steel in your spine, because life only strengthens the man who stops running from it. Remind yourself that this is temporary, but your legacy is not. Each day can feel like a mountain, the hours stretch, the pressure weighs heavy, and the silence between results can scream louder than any failure. There will be days when it feels like nothing is working, when the world doesn't applaud, when no one sees the effort, when you wake up exhausted and go to bed wondering if it even mattered. But here's the truth you must hold on to like a sword in the dark. This is temporary, but your legacy is forever. The fatigue, it will fade. The rejection, it will sting, then dissolve. The quiet seasons, the ones where you feel like the only one grinding while others shine, those will pass. But what remains, what lasts? It's what you build through those seasons. It's who you become when no one's watching. It's what you choose when it would be easier to choose nothing at all. That's why, each morning, before the world begins to pull at you, before distractions dilute your focus, you must speak this truth to your own soul. I am not grinding for a moment. I am grinding for a name. This isn't about fleeting motivation. This is about legacy, about what echoes beyond the years you breathe, about the imprint you leave on others, the people who watched, who listened, who learned from the way you moved when life wasn't kind. You don't endure simply to survive. Survival is instinctual. Any creature can survive. But you were built to create, to conquer, to leave something behind. And not just wealth or success or trophies, but truth, character, strength, a pattern of courage that others can follow, a story your grandchildren can tell, not with pride alone, but with instruction. This is how our family learned to fight. This is how our name was built. So every day you rise, you are casting a vote for the man you are, for the man your future family will either admire or forget. You are writing lines in a book someone else may one day read. And that's why you must not give up. Not because the day is easy, but because the future you are building demands that you honor it. Even when you're tired, even when you're afraid, even when it feels like no one sees you. Because the real battle is never between you and the world. It's between you and the part of yourself that's willing to settle, to delay, to compromise. The part that says, this is too much, or just skip it today, or nobody will notice. That voice is always there. But so is another, a quieter one, the voice of legacy, the voice that whispers, push, not for applause, not for reward, but because someone you'll never meet is counting on the strength you build today. Think about that for a moment. Your discipline today may feed a future you'll never live to see. A child not yet born may stand stronger because you chose to rise when it was hard. A generation may walk farther because you refused to quit halfway. That's legacy. That's real success. And it never shows up in a moment. It shows up over decades, built brick by brick in mornings just like this one. So how do you keep going when today feels like it's working against you? You visualize legacy. You picture the man you'd want your son to admire. Not the man who had it easy, but the man who didn't give in. You imagine your grandchildren hearing about your story, not just your accomplishments, but your consistency, your integrity, the way you kept showing up. That image must become your fuel, because when motivation fails, and it will, only meaning remains. And meaning is born from vision, from asking, what do I want my life to stand for? But in the quiet hearts of the people who watched me live, in the children who heard about my sacrifices, in the friends who witnessed me keep my word, in the enemies who couldn't deny my discipline, that's the story that matters. That's the name that lasts. Now imagine this. It's 5:30 a.m. It's dark. Your eyes sting with fatigue. The room is cold. Your muscles ache. No one's cheering. No cameras. No reward waiting on the other side of your workout, your writing, your prayer, your effort. Just silence. Just resistance. But you whisper, this will pass. But my name will remain. And then you act. Not because it feels good, but because you remember why you began. You keep going. Not for the dopamine rush, not for the pat on the back, but because you've chosen to build something eternal, not made of comfort, but of conviction. So, I'll ask you right now, without ceremony, are you living for the moment or for the mark you'll leave? Are your days consumed by short-term pleasure, short-term validation, short-term comfort? Or are you stacking bricks that will one day build a legacy, one worthy of pride, one that outlives you, one that someone else can build upon? Because make no mistake, every action you take today adds to your legend or subtracts from it. Every skipped rep, every ignored goal, every silent compromise writes a line in your story, but so does every step taken in silence, every hour of uncelebrated discipline. Every morning you rise, not because it's easy, but because your future is watching. So tomorrow morning, and the next, and the one after that, don't just wake up, rise, and remind yourself, today is fleeting, but my legacy, that's the reason I endure. That's the reason I move. That's the reason I will not quit. Because men who live for the moment vanish with the moment. But men who live for the legacy become immortal. Make a silent promise to yourself and keep it. Every morning, before the world hears your voice, before anyone texts you, asks for you, calls your name, you must hear your own vow. Not a public declaration, not a motivational speech, not a loud chant to impress your reflection, a quiet promise, a vow spoken in the silence of your own mind, made only for yourself. This is not performance. This is principle. This is the invisible thread that ties today to your standard. And that thread, if honored daily, becomes unbreakable character. Most men never speak to themselves like this. They wake up and rush into the world without direction. They're pulled by demand, urgency, noise, and so they live reactive lives, bouncing between tasks and expectations, never realizing the root of their scattered existence is the absence of self-integrity. You see, it's not failure that breaks a man. It's not loss. It's betrayal. Doubt doesn't grow in the presence of obstacles. It grows in the presence of broken promises. You say you'll wake up early, but you hit snooze. You say you'll do the hard thing, but you delay it for comfort. You say you'll stay calm, but you let irritation win. These aren't just small slips. These are silent fractures in the foundation of trust between you and yourself. And the more often they occur, the less you believe your own word. That's what doubt really is. It's the mind whispering, I've heard you make this promise before, and you never kept it. That's why the first voice you hear each day should be your own. Not the news, not the opinions of others, your own. And not the voice of weakness, not the excuse-making version of you, but the voice of the man you are building, the man who leads, the man who honors the hard path, the man who follows through. Speak to yourself before the day speaks to you. Make a vow. Maybe it's small. Today I will finish what I start. Or maybe it's aggressive. Today I will not shrink. I will confront what I fear. It doesn't matter what you say. It matters that you mean it, that you feel it, that you are willing to act as if your entire identity depends on this single private contract. Because in many ways it does. This is not about perfection. You're not a machine. You'll stumble. You'll fall short. That's part of the process. But it's not about getting everything right. It's about creating a pattern of discipline, a pattern of follow-through, a pattern of self-honor. And over time, that pattern becomes the structure of your confidence. Confidence is not given. It's not inherited. It's earned, brick by brick, through repeated evidence that you are the kind of man who does what he says, not just to others, to himself. Each time you keep that promise, even in discomfort, you're wiring your brain to believe. When I speak, I act. When I say, I deliver. When I commit, I finish. Now imagine two men. They wake at the same hour, they face the same responsibilities, but one begins his day in silence, speaking a vow into his spirit. Today, I will lead with strength. I will not excuse. I will not retreat. I will not break. Then he moves into the world carrying that vow like armor. His actions aren't scattered, they're guided. His choices aren't impulsive, they're anchored. The other man, he rushes into the day, reacts, complains, gets lost in noise. There is no anchor, only drift. And that drift becomes his day, his week, his life. He wonders why nothing sticks, why nothing changes. But the answer isn't in his luck. It's in his lack of inner agreement. See, life isn't built by outer goals alone. It's built by inner contracts. And every morning you wake up, you are giving a new blank page. You either fill it with default behaviors or deliberate vows. And the man who chooses to lead himself first, before he leads anyone or anything else, is the man who becomes unshakable. It's easy to speak boldly to others, but it's rare to speak quietly and powerfully to yourself. That's where your strength hides. That's where you build a kind of identity that doesn't need applause to stay committed. You're not performing, you're proving to yourself that you are worthy of your own belief. And don't underestimate the power of that inner voice, because one strong sentence, repeated every morning, becomes a spine. It becomes a compass, a line in the sand between the man you used to be and the man you are choosing to become. So ask yourself, have you promised yourself anything today? Not to your boss, not to your family, not to the world, to yourself. Have you made that quiet commitment, the kind that doesn't show up in public but shows up in your posture? Because if you haven't made the promise, you can't keep it. And if you never keep it, you never build. You don't need 100 goals. You need one vow, honored consistently. Today, I will not make excuses. Today, I will act despite how I feel. Today, I will be the man I said I'd be. That is where power begins. That is how empires of discipline are born. In the silence of the morning, when a man speaks and listens and acts, make the promise, keep the promise, do it again tomorrow and again the next day, until the world no longer has to ask who you are, because your life answers for you. Until your presence carries weight, not because of volume, but because of alignment. Because you have become someone even you can trust. And that, my friend, is how you build the kind of man you're proud to follow. Speak one bold truth aloud. Every morning, most men whisper their dreams. They tuck them into corners of their minds, shielding them from light, from judgment, from risk. They speak in soft tones when they talk about the future, as if they're apologizing for wanting more. They keep their ambitions vague, half-spoken, sealed behind a curtain of hesitation. Why? Because once a dream is spoken, it becomes real. And what is real carries risk. What is real demands action, exposure, and commitment. And for many, that reality is too heavy to hold. But you are not here to play it safe. You are not here to tiptoe through life, hoping to avoid embarrassment or failure. You are here to build, to mold reality with your voice, because your voice is not just noise. It is the first hammer strike against the raw stone of potential. And every morning, before the world begins to shape you with its chaos, you must shape yourself with your own words. The spoken word is your first act of creation. It takes what is invisible, what only you can see or feel, and brings it into the realm of the seen, the heard, the known. Thought is the seed, yes, but speech is the root. And until you speak, your vision remains trapped in silence, powerless, untouched. So you must speak. And not softly, not like you're hoping the world won't hear. You must declare one bold truth aloud, not a weak affirmation, not a sugar-coated phrase repeated without feeling, but a truth, a line of strength drawn in the dirt that says, this is who I am, this is what I'm building, this is the man I've decided to become. Say it with force, with clarity, with conviction. Say it like law, because that's what it is. It's the law of your intention, the decree of your spirit, the moment when thought becomes command. And when your ears hear your own voice stand for something real, something weighty, something unchangeable, you begin to believe, not passively, but actively. Belief becomes bone. Resolve becomes breath. Why do you think kings had heralds? Why do you think generals speak before a charge? Because words are not decoration, they are ignition. The ancient world knew this. Builders spoke to their stones. Farmers spoke to their fields. Warriors spoke to their swords, not for magic, but for alignment. because when the inner world and the outer voice unite, momentum begins. That's why every morning you must go somewhere private, not to perform, not to impress, but to build yourself. Go where there's no one else to distract or distort. Stand up straight, look forward, plant your feet like a man who commands territory. Then speak. Speak as if you are issuing orders to your own destiny, because that's exactly what you're doing. Maybe it's a sentence, one line, one truth that cuts through the fog. I am a man of action. I do not quit. This year, I dominate. I will build something no one can take from me. Whatever it is, say it like it's final. No stammering, no conditions, no I hope, only this is what is. Picture it. A farmer speaks to his land before he plants. This season, you will feed my family. His words don't till the soil, but they prepare the man. A general stands before his soldiers and says, today we fight for honor. His words don't stop the bullets, but they ignite the heart. A craftsman touches the stone and says, from this, I will carve legacy. The chisel hasn't even struck yet, but the intention has. And you must speak to your soul before the battle of the day begins. Because this world is a battleground. Not in the dramatic theatrical sense, but in the quiet resistance it offers to every form of greatness. The moment you step into the world, the battle begins. Distraction, doubt, delay, temptation. It's all coming for you. But your words, your morning declaration, are your armor. They are your war cry. And a man with a war cry cannot be easily swayed. So I ask you, sincerely and with urgency, have you declared your intention today? Have you claimed your ground? Or did you wake up and shuffle through your routines like a man asleep in his own life? You see, it's not enough to have vision. Vision without declaration is just a dream. Dreams rot in silence. But declarations, they command action. They change how you walk, how you think, how you move. They transform mornings from moments of grogginess to moments of mobilization. And no one else needs to hear them. This is not for your friends. This is for the man you see when the lights are off and the crowd is gone. This is for you and the world you're building with your bare hands. Say it aloud. Let your voice echo in your own chest. Let it bounce off the walls like a hammer calling your purpose to attention. Let your words become the bricks you lay at your own feet, one by one, day by day, until you stand on top of something unshakable. Because that's what you're doing, whether you realize it or not. Your words are building your world. Every morning you are either speaking strength or surrender, certainty or hesitation, clarity or confusion. And whichever one you choose will lead your day. So speak and make it strong. Speak with the tone of a man who believes the ground he stands on belongs to him. Speak with the certainty of a man who has burned the bridges behind him and has no choice but to conquer forward. Speak with the edge of a man who knows he has work to do and will not be denied. Your words are not just breath. They are blueprints. And the man who speaks with intention each morning does not drift. He builds. Day by day, brick by brick, sentence by sentence, until the dream is no longer hidden, until the world echoes back what you first had the courage to say aloud. Take one silent walk with purpose. You must return to this forgotten power. Before the world begins to grab at your attention, before obligations start shouting your name, you must reclaim a space that once belonged to every great man who lived with purpose. The silent walk. Not for fitness, not for steps, not for performance, but for presence. Each morning, step outside, alone, no conversation, no agenda, just you and your steps. Because your body is not just a vehicle, it's a voice. Your feet do more than carry you, they reveal you. The pace of your stride mirrors the rhythm of your soul. When you walk slowly, thoughtfully, your thoughts have space to unfold. When your pace quickens, it mirrors a mind stirred by fire or tension. But in either case, the movement is not random. It is sacred. It is dialogue with yourself. We have forgotten how to walk like this. We rush, we jog with music in our ears and podcasts in our heads, and so we are constantly consuming, but rarely connecting. But there is a deeper wisdom waiting in the silence, one that only reveals itself when everything else fades away. As you walk, don't try to solve everything. Don't wrestle with your problems like they owe you answers. Let them rise. Let them breathe. Let them stretch and move like clouds drifting across your inner sky. You don't force insight, it arrives, and it often arrives when the body is in gentle motion. That's because walking stirs the mind, but doesn't overwhelm it. It awakens you, but does not drown you. Why does this matter? Because we live in a world obsessed with intensity, with shouting, with doing more, faster, louder. And yet some of the most powerful transformations don't happen through noise, but through motion. quiet, steady, deliberate motion. Motion is medicine for the mind. It whispers, you are not stuck. You are still capable of movement. And that truth alone can unravel despair. You see, the mind often confuses stillness for stagnation. It makes you believe you're trapped when really you just haven't moved. But once you begin to walk, even if nothing is solved, even if nothing changes immediately, something inside shifts. It's subtle, it's ancient. It says, we're still here, we're still capable, let's begin again. That's why the body must move, because when the body moves, the spirit follows. And when the spirit follows, clarity finds you. Not all at once, not with trumpets and banners, but with quiet conviction. Picture this. It's early. The world still sleeps. You slip outside while the sky is still blue-gray and heavy with morning air. Maybe you walk through a field, maybe through a quiet road, maybe down a stone path that remembers the footsteps of your ancestors. The birds begin to stir. The wind is light, and no one is watching. There is no audience, no applause, no approval to win, and yet something happens. Your shoulders lift, your breath deepens, your back straightens, not from effort, but from remembrance. You remember who you are, who you were, who you are becoming. You return not to a destination on a map, but to yourself. And that return done daily becomes the ritual that anchors you when life begins to pull. You begin to walk not to arrive anywhere, but to arrive back into your own being. It may sound simple. It may sound too soft for this world of steel, but I tell you this, the strongest men in history always knew when to walk away from the noise and toward power. The generals, the poets, the prophets, the kings. They walked when they needed answers. They walked when they needed strength. They walked when they needed to feel the weight of the world fall away for just a moment so they could hear the whisper of direction. When was the last time you walked just to listen, not to solve, not to prepare, just to hear your own soul without interruption? When was the last time you walked just to feel the rhythm of your breath, the tension in your shoulders, the pace of your heart? When was the last time you gave your mind that gift? A moment of space, of solitude, of sacred distance from the noise. That is not weakness. That is discipline. You don't walk to escape. You walk to return, to remember what matters, to realign yourself before the world tries to pull you in 1,000 directions. And if you make this a practice, not a once-a-week moment, but a daily vow, you will find that your days no longer own you. You will begin to move through life not with panic, but with presence, not scattered, but centered. You'll begin to hear yourself again, and when you can hear yourself, you can lead yourself. That's the great secret most men miss. They try to lead others without ever leading themselves first. They try to build empires without first returning to the foundation of their own being. But a man who walks each morning in silence, who knows how to stand still while moving forward, is not easily shaken, because he has already met himself before the world tried to define him. So tomorrow morning, before the sun has fully risen, lace your shoes. Leave the noise. Step out into the cool air and walk, not to get somewhere, but to get back. Walk with no timeline, no outcome, just presence, just pace, just peace. Let your thoughts rise, let them break apart, let them rebuild. And when you return, you will return different. Not louder, but stronger. Not faster, but surer. Because the man who walks in silence each morning builds a strength the world can't see, but feels every time he enters a room. So walk. And in that quiet movement, reclaim the fire that rush cannot give you. You are not walking away, you are walking toward your power. To review the price you're willing to pay, each morning you must revisit the cost. Because every dream, every ambition, every future worth chasing demands payment. And not just once, not just in the beginning, but every single day. This is the part most men forget. They set a goal, they speak of visions of change, of greatness, but as the days pass, as the fire cools and the real work begins, they forget the cost. They want the crown, but shrink from the climb. They want freedom, but refuse to pay for it in full. Desire is common. Millions of men want, but very few are willing to give. The world is filled with men who dream of becoming, but not enough who commit to becoming exhausted for it. That's why success, real success, not popularity, not noise, not hollow applause, but deep ability, rooted, unshakable success rarely visits those who dabble. It visits the man who pays. You see, success does not bargain. It does not ask how you feel. It does not give you discounts for being busy. It doesn't reduce its demands when you're tired or discouraged. It doesn't bend for excuses. It responds to one thing: sacrifice. And if you're not sacrificing, you're not building. If you're not paying, you're not progressing. And that's why, before you begin your day, the noise, the chaos, you must ask yourself, what am I willing to give today? Time, energy, sleep, comfort, rejection? Are you willing to be misunderstood? Are you willing to be judged, mocked, ignored? Are you willing to do the same work while no one claps? Are you willing to delay gratification when everyone else celebrates early? If not, the dream will starve. Not because it wasn't possible, but because you never gave it the fuel it needed. This daily review is not meant to discourage you. It's not meant to wear you down. It's meant to forge you, to strip away the illusions, to remind you that the process is the payment, and it must be paid up front. Not in theory, but in action. Because when you begin your day aware of the price, you stop resenting the payment. You stop whining about the weight. You stop asking, why is this so hard? And start declaring, this is the weight I chose to carry. And here's the truth. Most men don't fail because of lack of intelligence or talent or opportunity. They fail because they forget what the pursuit demands. They start treating the dream like a hobby, not like a vow. And when the discomfort comes, as it always will, they lower the price they're willing to pay. But not you. Not if you wake each morning with your eyes wide open. Sit with yourself. Write it down. Don't overthink it. Just be brutally honest. What am I currently paying to earn my goal? Are you sacrificing time, or are you squeezing your dream into leftover hours? Are you sacrificing comfort, or do you retreat at the first sign of resistance? Are you enduring rejection, or are you hiding behind the fear of disapproval? Is it enough? And if the answer is no, then raise the offering, because the man who gives more gets more. Life is not blind. It watches, it waits, and it rewards the man who gives first and complains last. Imagine two men. They sit in the same room. They speak of freedom, of purpose, of building a life that matters. Both nod their heads. Both say the words. But then the morning comes. One gives only what's convenient. He works when it feels good. He sacrifices when it's easy. The other? He rises early. He shows up tired. He repeats the same action without applause. He gives, and gives some more, without negotiation. 1 year later, the difference is unmistakable. One man has what he spoke about. The other remembers what he once hoped for. And it's not the dream that failed, it's the price that was never paid. You see, feeling ready is a luxury. Waiting for motivation is a myth. The world gives its rewards to the man who acts while trembling, who continues when no one is watching, who bleeds for what he believes in. The man who doesn't wait to feel capable but acts anyway because he said he would. That is what it means to carry the cost. So I ask you now, what are you giving that proves you want this life? Not what you're wishing, not what you're saying. What are you giving? What price have you placed on your dream? Is it a token, a gesture, a little effort to keep the guilt away? Or is it a true offering, something that hurts to give but builds you as you give it? Because anything worth having, freedom, mastery, impact, will demand something sacred from you, time you can't get back, comfort you've grown addicted to, approval you once needed, energy you'd rather spend elsewhere. That's the real receipt, and you can either pay it in advance or suffer the regret of withheld potential. So tomorrow morning and every morning after, don't just check your schedule, check the cost. Look your dream in the eye and ask, am I giving enough? And if the answer makes you uncomfortable, double down, give more, wake earlier, stay longer, risk more, stretch farther, because your future does not care how noble your intentions were. It only knows what you gave. Most men never count the cost. And so they spend their life frustrated, confused why the door never opens. But the door was never locked. It was just guarded by the price of entry. Start each morning counting the cost. Let it sting a little. Let it wake you up. Let it remind you that nothing will be handed to you, but everything can be earned if you're willing to give enough. And remember, greatness leaves a receipt. Check yours. And if it's not enough, pay again. Recall one failure without shame. You cannot grow if you're afraid to look back. And yet you cannot live back there either. Growth is not found in denial. It's found in the tension between memory and movement. The future demands your focus, yes, but the past demands your honesty. That's the paradox of progress. You must remember without remaining. You must revisit without reliving. And the only way to move forward with wisdom is to occasionally look back with clarity, not shame. Most men don't do this. Most men run from their failures like fugitives, hoping that if they run fast enough, the memories won't catch them. They bury mistakes beneath distractions. They coat regret with pride. They speak of lessons but refuse to open the pages of their own painful history. But time doesn't erase what hasn't been faced. The mistake you refuse to review is the mistake you are destined to repeat. This is the secret. Buried lessons become repeated mistakes. And if you want to walk a path that does not circle back into old patterns, you must become the kind of man who can stare into the rearview mirror, not to punish himself, but to sharpen himself. You must dig up the moment you fell short. You must re-enter the battlefield of your past, not with guilt, but with the eyes of a general studying terrain. You must say, "This taught me more than success ever could." But when? When should you do this work? In the morning, because the morning is when your mind is open, before the world fogs it with noise. It's when you set the tone, the temperature, the terms of the day. It's when you choose what to remember, what to believe, and how to act. And if you choose to face your failures early, you rob them of their power to chase you throughout the day. You meet them on your terms. You strip them of shame and replace it with strategy. You say, "I know you. I've seen you. You no longer control me." You must understand this. Failure will either haunt you or fuel you, and that decision begins before breakfast. So how do you do it? You sit in stillness. You reach back into the file of your memory, not to dwell, but to dissect. You don't relive the failure, you study it. You become the investigator of your own missteps. You find one moment, maybe it was last week, maybe 10 years ago, the words you didn't say, the action you didn't take, the standard you dropped, the compromise that cost you more than you imagined. Don't hide from it, don't excuse it. Just look and ask, what did I do? What did I avoid? What did I learn? These three questions build the bridge between regret and redemption. They pull the wisdom from the wound. They make you stronger without making you bitter. And then, this part is essential. You must speak. You must say aloud, even if it's a whisper, "I am not that man anymore. I am wiser," because the body must hear it. The ears must feel the certainty in your voice. Words spoken with truth rewire the brain faster than thoughts whispered in silence. You're not saying you're perfect. You're not pretending it never happened. You're declaring that you have evolved. You're choosing to remember not the sting, but the lesson. Now imagine this. Two men start the same morning. They both carry a failure. Same weight, same pain. One man refuses to acknowledge it. He walks fast. He fills his day with noise, hoping the silence won't catch him. But the failure is alive in his subconscious. It shapes his decisions. It fuels his hesitation. He repeats what he once vowed never to do. The other man begins his day differently. He sits. He breathes. He looks the failure in the face. He names it. He breaks it down. He studies the pattern. He extracts the truth. Then he declares, "I have learned. I have grown. I am not that man." And he walks forward, not lighter in memory, but heavier in wisdom. He doesn't repeat the past. He reprograms the future. Same failure, different man, different outcome. So let me ask you, are you brave enough to remember without regret? Can you hold your own mistakes in your hands without turning away? Can you stare at your shortcomings without calling them your identity? Because a man who can do this, who can hold the memory of his failure and learn from it, is a man who cannot be broken. He has seen himself at his worst. And instead of burying it, he built from it. He forged strength from that fire. He didn't run from the pain. He ran with it. Every morning you have this choice, to pretend or to review, to avoid or to confront, to walk forward unaware or to walk forward armed. You don't need to linger in the past, but you do need to learn from it. A man without memory is a man without map, and no one finds greatness by forgetting the path behind him. Begin each day with one misstep, one lesson, one correction, not to feel small, but to rise taller, not to shrink into guilt, but to stretch into growth. And as you do this, you will begin to notice something powerful. The more you learn from your past, the less it defines you. The more you face your failure, the less it follows you. The more you confront it, the more it serves you. This is not about shame, this is about ownership. Ownership of your journey, ownership of your growth, ownership of the man you are still becoming. So remember your failures, speak to them, learn from them, then leave them behind, not as weights, but as witnesses to your transformation. Because a man who is brave enough to face his past without regret is a man the future will not intimidate. Begin the morning in stillness before the world speaks. You open your eyes, but before the noise of the world enters your mind, there is a moment, a stillness, a silence so subtle that most people miss it. But hidden within that silence is power, the power to decide who you will become today. This moment is yours, unclaimed, unshaped, untouched by the demands of the world. Most men, however, rush to surrender it. They roll over, and before they've even taken a breath, their mind has already been hijacked. News feeds, notifications, missed calls, these become the first voices they hear. They hand over their attention before they've even possessed it. But you must be different, because that moment, right before the world rushes in, is the gateway to a new mind. Why is that first moment so powerful? Because the brain, in that delicate space between sleep and waking, is not yet armored by habits or hardened by thoughts. It is open, soft, programmable. Like wet cement, it will take the imprint of whatever you press into it. The world will try to press in fear, distraction, and urgency. But if you act with intention, you can press in clarity, purpose, and peace. And the form your mind takes in that moment will echo for the rest of your day. You must understand, the mind is not static. It is a living, shaping force, constantly being molded by what you allow. If you begin your day in chaos, don't be surprised when your mind echoes with confusion. If you begin it in fear, don't be surprised when your confidence falters by noon. But if you begin it in stillness, in deliberate self-command, you take the reins. You choose the mold. You choose the pattern. So here's what you must do. The moment you wake up, before your feet hit the floor, before you open your inbox, before anyone else's thoughts reach your ears, be still. Do nothing external. Lie in bed or sit upright and just breathe. That's it. Feel your breath moving in and out. Become aware, not of the world, but of you. This is not passivity, it is preparation. It is a warrior standing calm before the battlefield. Now ask yourself, what do I want my mind to believe today? That question is your sword, your armor. Say your answer out loud, not in a whisper, but in a voice of quiet conviction. I am focused, I am strong, I am directed. These are not affirmations to impress others. These are instructions to your subconscious, commands, orders, because if you don't program your mind, someone else will. And they won't do it with your best interest in mind. The world is a master hypnotist. Every headline is written to trigger fear. Every ad is designed to make you feel lacking. If you wait for the world to shape your thoughts, you'll never truly live your own life. So you must speak to yourself first. You must become the hypnotist. You must decide what your mind is going to believe, and then build from there. Now picture two men. His stomach tightens. His thoughts scatter like leaves in a storm. His energy is pulled in 5 directions before he even stands up. He's already behind, and he knows it. Now picture the other man. He wakes up. He doesn't move. He just breathes. Then he says out loud, "Today I lead." His mind locks onto that phrase. His breath slows. His thoughts align. He's not reacting. He's designing. He stands up, calm. His eyes are clear. His mind is owned by him, not the world. Same time of day, different life. You might think this is just a small habit, but it's not. This is a pattern interrupt, a way to break the automation that has ruled most of your mornings for years. The brain is shaped by repetition. It does not evolve by accident. It evolves by daily, deliberate design. And the man who rewires his morning rewires his entire destiny, because every day begins with a moment, and every moment shapes a thought. Every thought repeated becomes a belief, and belief becomes action. And action, that's your life. You don't need to add more to your morning. You need to subtract the noise. You need to reclaim your mind before the world gets its hands on it. 5 minutes of stillness, a deep breath, one spoken command. That's not a routine, that's warfare. It's how you fight back against a culture that wants to distract, dilute, and dominate your thinking. And here's the truth. The way you begin your day is the way your day will begin to shape you. If you wake up and surrender, your mind learns to bend. But if you wake up and lead, your mind learns to obey you. This is not about motivation. Motivation fades. This is about installation. You are installing a new operating system. One thought, one breath, one morning at a time. So let me ask you directly, who's the first voice your mind hears every day? Is it yours or someone else's? Who sets the tone for your emotions? Is it your own discipline or the world's distraction? You already know the answer. But now you must change the answer. Tomorrow morning, don't rush, don't reach, don't react. Just breathe. Just sit. Just speak your command. Then go forward. Not as a man pulled by the world, but as one who leads it. You don't need the perfect morning routine. You just need the right one. The one that tells your mind, I am in charge. The silence you hear when you wake up, that is not emptiness. That is opportunity. And from now on, you'll meet it like a king enters a throne room, not waiting for permission, but declaring his intent. Before the world speaks, you speak. Before the day unfolds, you unfold your mind. And when that becomes your habit, your life will not just change, it will transform. Quietly, powerfully, permanently, because the man who commands his morning commands his future. Write down one powerful thought daily to reshape your reality. Every morning, the world gives you a blank canvas, but most men never learn how to paint. Instead of creating something new, they replay the same old chaos. Yesterday's doubts, yesterday's frustrations, the same inner dialogues looping like a broken record. They wake up and immediately re-enter yesterday's storm. Their mind, though awake, is not renewed, it is recycled. And so, year after year, they live the same day, the same mindset, the same fate. But you are not here to replay. You are here to reprogram. You are here to rewire. And the rewiring does not begin with success, applause, or achievement. It begins with a sentence. A single conscious sentence written down in the quiet of the morning. Because writing is not just an act of thought. It is an act of power. When you write, you declare, not just to yourself, but to your subconscious, your body, your future. This is who I am becoming. The brain is a creature of pattern. It survives by routine, by familiarity, by what it recognizes. But that also means that if you keep feeding it the same thoughts, it will keep delivering the same results. If you think fear, you live fear. If you think doubt, you walk in hesitation. And nothing changes because the blueprint hasn't changed. But when you write, you interrupt that cycle. You break the echo. You challenge the autopilot. Not typing, not silently thinking, writing, because the hand moves, the eyes focus, and the mind is engaged. The internal begins to manifest in the external. The invisible becomes visible. That is where the rewiring begins. But don't complicate it. This is not about paragraphs or journals or essays. This is not for someone else to read. This is for you. One thought, one sentence, one clear command that reflects the person you are building, not the one you're escaping. Say it straight. I am courageous. I act without fear. I command my time. These are not affirmations in the weak sense. They are declarations of identity. They are blueprints. You are not wishing, you are instructing. Because here's the truth most people never learn. Your subconscious does not differentiate between truth and repetition. If you tell it every day, I'm not good enough, it will build your life around that belief, and you'll find ways to prove it right. But if you say, I am worthy, every single day, even when you don't feel it, it will start looking for ways to make that true. That's not wishful thinking, that's biology. That's neurology. That's how the brain works. It builds pathways around what is repeated, not what is real, but what is reinforced. This is why you must write it. Not once a week, every single morning. Because the same way water drop by drop can carve through stone, one sentence repeated can carve a new reality in your mind. It will feel unnatural at first, like a foreign language. But that is only because your brain is still speaking the old one. Stay with it. Keep writing it. Let the new language take root. Picture a woman who writes, I am worthy, every morning for 30 days. The first time, her hand trembles. The words feel like a lie. But she writes it anyway, day after day. Somewhere around day 10, she says it a little louder. On day 15, she doesn't hesitate. By day 20, she starts making decisions that align with worthiness. She sets boundaries, she walks taller, she speaks clearer. Her life begins to shift. Not because the world changed, but because she did. The outer followed the inner, and the inner began with a sentence. You might doubt this. You might think, can one sentence really change me? But the truth is, every identity begins with a story, and every story begins with words. The man who becomes strong doesn't wait to feel strong. He tells himself he is, again and again, until his posture changes, until his voice deepens, until his actions align. Identity is not born, it is built, and it is built by repetition. And repetition requires a ritual. So here is your ritual. Every morning, take a pen, not a keyboard, a pen, and write one powerful thought, the same one, or a new one, whatever you need to believe to become who you are meant to be. And don't wait for the belief to arrive. Belief is not the beginning, it is the reward for consistency. Don't write because you already believe it. Write because you want to believe it, because you must believe it, because you refuse to believe anything less. And understand, this is not about ego. This is not about arrogance or fantasy. This is about alignment. You're aligning your inner world with your outer potential. You're commanding your brain to stop chasing its past and start creating its future. Each sentence is a brick, and with enough bricks, you build a fortress, a mind that is no longer shaken by noise or fear or doubt. The beauty of this habit is its simplicity. No excuses, no tools required, just you, a pen, and a sentence. That's all it takes to begin the process of inner transformation. You don't need motivation, you don't need permission, you don't even need a plan. You just need to show up every morning. Before the day speaks, you speak. Before the doubts arrive, you arrive. With a sentence so powerful, it rewires the path your mind walks for the rest of the day. Because at the end of the day, the man who writes strength thinks strength. The woman who writes peace walks in peace. The person who writes I am in control starts acting in control. You don't need to prove it, you need to practice it. Belief is a muscle, and writing is the weight. So tomorrow morning, wake up and take command. Pick up the pen, choose your sentence, and make your mind obey. Not someday, not when you feel better, now. Because each morning is not just a new day, it is a new mind waiting to be written. One sentence, one day, one transformation at a time. That is how you rewire your brain. That is how you build a life worthy of the voice you choose to believe. Rewiring your brain doesn't require dramatic change, just consistent intention. Do this every morning, and you'll begin shaping a mind built for clarity, strength, and purpose. The world won't get easier, but you'll become sharper, more focused, more resilient. Start tomorrow. Start with one act that puts you in control, because the life you want begins with the mind you build, and the mind you build begins each morning. Own that moment, and you'll own everything that follows.